Thank you so much for joining us today as I provide an update from the 2024 General Assembly session on key legislation impacting aging services. This was a long session, a 60-day General Assembly session. We had over 3,500 bills and resolutions that were introduced, and the General Assembly adjourned on Saturday, March 9th. So occasionally throughout this presentation, I'll be referring to legislation that's been continued to the 2025 General Assembly session. What this means is that the proposed legislation for the current session, the 2024 General Assembly, did not move forward. Essentially, that legislation is dead. In order for it to move forward, it will have to be reintroduced during the next General Assembly session to be considered. So it does not automatically, as being continued to the 2025 session, mean that it will be considered. It will actually have to be reintroduced by a legislator to move forward through the General Assembly process for consideration. I want to take this opportunity to thank our Leading Age Virginia Public Policy Committee. They are a tremendous support to us to help us develop our positions on legislation and regulations, and are always available during the session with very little notice to help support us with suggested changes to legislation or determining quick positions that we need without very much notice. So thank you so much for your support. So a little bit about legislation impacting nursing homes. Senate Bill 579 was a measure that was introduced for professional liability insurance by Senator Mark Obenshain. This legislation proposed that the required minimum amount of professional liability coverage for nursing homes is the amount per occurrence. This would require that the coverage would be non-eroding, i.e. the coverage limits are not reduced by legal costs. We found this to not be very relevant to our membership, and we worked with Senator Obenshain on this legislation. It's being continued over to the 2025 General Assembly, but we believe that Senator Obenshain is going to be working on this throughout the year for any issues that may have raised this for him. Not really relevant to our membership, so we don't really anticipate this one to come back up next year. Senate Bill 661, Electronic Monitoring of Nursing Home Resident Rooms, introduced by Senator Christine Craig. Under current law, nursing homes are required to have a policy in place about whether electronic monitoring is permitted. Monitoring is not mandatory. If a nursing home chooses to permit electronic monitoring, there are regulations in place that provide information on how to implement that, taking into consideration privacy of the resident and other protections for the resident and the nursing home. This bill proposed mandating that all nursing homes permit electronic monitoring devices in residents' rooms. Under current law and regulation, it did not really seem to be necessary and needed. There is interest in this legislation. It has been continued over to the 2025 General Assembly session. There are, what I mean by interest is that there are legislators that are interested in continuing to look at this issue over the next year. So we are convening a nursing home electronic monitoring task force so we can really look at the issues and be prepared, bring these particular legislators that are interested in the issue into the conversation, see what their concerns are, address their questions, and essentially help us prepare for the next session. If you would like to participate in this member task force, please email Tracy Lewis at the email address here on this slide. House Bill 886 is legislation that dealt with nursing home administrative sanctions. This bill was introduced by Delegate Vivian Watts. The bill proposed amending administrative sanctions that may be imposed on certified nursing homes in relation to compliance with staffing requirements. It was also requiring that nursing homes subject to a corrective action plan must demonstrate compliance with the plan on a quarterly basis. It also proposed changing from 3 to 2 the number of corrective action plans after which, if a certified nursing home fails to show compliance or improvement, the commissioner may place the nursing home on probation. It also changed the effective date of the legislation that was passed during the 2023 session of the General Assembly that has gone into law relating to staffing requirements for certified nursing homes from July 1st of 2025 to July 1st of this year, 2024. That legislation for staffing requirements is still moving forward on July 1st of 2025. This legislation did not move forward. It has been continued to the 2025 General Assembly session and would have to be reintroduced to be considered. Another bill introduced impacting nursing homes was specifically related to application requirements, introduced by Delegate Rodney Willett. This bill proposed requiring that all applicants for a nursing home license complete and submit an application on a form approved by the Department of Health. All applicants for a nursing home license, whether new, renewal, or a change of ownership, would have to complete and submit a department-approved application form with the required fee. For renewals, the application could be waived if there were no changes to the nursing home information. The application and all required accompanying documentation and the required fee would be submitted annually prior to the licensure renewal deadline. The applicant would be required to provide certain information in the form, including information on ownership interest in the nursing home, pending litigation, real property related to the nursing home, secured notes, the financial history of persons mentioned in the application, and contact information for specific persons. This particular legislation had a very positive aspect in the transparency. It had some issues related to the drafting. So we worked with Delegate Willett and have offered our assistance to work on this over the next year if he would like to reintroduce it during the next session, as it has been continued to the 2025 session. House Bill 349, Nursing Home Advanced Medication Aids, introduced by Delegates Rozia Henson and Delegate Bobby Orrock. Very pleased about this legislation, as it is legislation to work towards workforce challenges in healthcare. It's been passed by the House and the Senate and is awaiting the governor's action by April 8th. All indications are that the governor will approve it. So we're looking forward to having his signature on this legislation. This bill directs the Virginia Board of Nursing to register advanced medication aids for a nursing home setting after they've completed required education. The bill also convenes a group of stakeholders to develop recommendations on these educational requirements. And all of these recommendations for the educational requirements will be due to the General Assembly, House, and Senate by November 1st of this year. Leading Age Virginia is named in the bill to serve on the work group, so we're looking forward to this opportunity. The Virginia Department of Health will develop regulations to authorize advanced registered medication aids to administer medications to nursing home residents, and regulations authorizing advanced registered medication aids to administer medications in this setting will become effective on July 1st of 2025.
Hi, Dana. Thanks for having me on for this General Assembly update. For everyone watching, my name is Tracy Lewis, and I am our Policy and Advocacy Coordinator here at Leading Age Virginia. I just had a few questions about once the governor takes action on this bill and it becomes law, will the registration process for the medication aids working in assisted living settings change?
No, Tracy, and thank you for being on today. The medication aid program for assisted living communities will remain unchanged. Therefore, if a person is currently registered as a medication aid and works in an assisted living setting, this legislation will not require the person to take any additional steps regarding their registration.
Okay, great. Will a registered medication aid for assisted livings be authorized to administer medications in a nursing home setting?
No, these medication aids will only be permitted to administer medications to residents in an assisted living setting.
Okay. Will medication aids registered to administer medication aid or medications in a nursing home setting be authorized to administer medications in an assisted living setting?
Yes, a registered advanced medication aid who is registered to administer medications to residents in a nursing home setting will also be automatically authorized to administer drugs to residents in an assisted living.
Great. Thank you so much, Dana, for answering those questions for me.
Thank you. Many thanks to our Leading Age Virginia Nursing Home Medication Aid Task Force that convened prior to the General Assembly session and helped us study this issue and develop recommendations regarding legislation that move forward through this session. So thank you so much for your time and your advocacy. We are also thrilled that we had 2 resolutions that were introduced and approved commending Leading Age Virginia's 50th anniversary that were presented on the House and Senate chamber floors during session. With the team in the gallery, including board member Jenny Martin from Blue Ridge Hospice, both the House and the Senate recognized our incredible contributions to aging services in the Commonwealth. Here's to 50 years of dedication, innovation, and positive aging for all Virginians. Many thanks to Delegate Bobby Orrock and Senator Schuyler Van Valkenburg for this recognition. The General Assembly is reconvening on April 17th to vote on the governor's vetoes and amendments and will keep members informed on any changes or actions that occur during this session on the 17th. Thank you all so much for your advocacy. Much appreciation to all Leading Age Virginia members for your invaluable advocacy efforts during this General Assembly session. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.